cigarettes were the most effective in a controlled manner. And that is exactly what Sweden did. Sweden has a traditional oral product called snus, which is essentially dried tobacco.
Oh, okay.
And the way they process their tobacco is very different. The way we process our tobacco here in Africa is we harvest the leaf, dry, and how do we dry it? We smoke, or we put it in a kiln, hot. Then after drying, we ferment.
Right, yeah.
Scientifically, the process of drying and fermentation has been shown to increase the carcinogenic substances by 100-fold.
Are you serious?
So what Sweden did, they realized that, hey, we must not hot dry our leaf, and we must not ferment our leaf. So the 100-fold increase of carcinogenic substances is out.
Yes.
So the snus is a traditional product in Sweden where they just take the leaf, air dry, ground it.
Okay.
And they make the snus, thus reducing the carcinogenic substances tremendously. And that is a fact.
So how do you consume the snus then? How is it?
It's put in between the upper lip and the gum.
Okay, just the massage do it.
Like velo.
Yes. Right? Or am I right?
No, nicotine pouches are also done the same, because a nicotine pouch is a fiber pouch that has substances including nicotine, and you put it in between your lip and the gum, and the nicotine slowly dissolves. It's the same concept as snus, and the whole idea is to release the nicotine in a regulated, consistent manner, which has been captured in the new Tobacco Control Amendment Bill, which clearly says that that nicotine pouch should have a well-controlled release.
Dr. let me ask you something.
Yes.
When all is said and done, we in the media, when we engage with Kenyans, there's, and I know, okay, this is probably going to sound political, but you got to forgive me. There's a sense of apathy in this country. And most people they consume all these things, all these harmful things, because they're almost trying to cope. The pressures of coping with this Kenyan experience is too much. So in a situation where we're hoping to get to those levels of Sweden, for example, where we don't have to consume that much nicotine.
Yes.
And yet people say, Kev, eat pressure, man, I can't handle it, man. The economy is bad, man. It's too much stress. How then do people cope with this type of lifestyle that we're living as Kenyan people, especially in this day and age where youth are saying there's crazy unemployment levels? As a doctor, can you actually cope with these pressures of life, these stresses, while being sober?
Yes, we do understand that life stresses contribute tremendously to substance abuse disorders, consumption of alcohol, cannabis, tobacco, and so many products. And as doctors, we always advise that is not the best way to cope, simply because you will get addicted to that product.
Yes.
And once addiction comes in, it's a whole new issue, because now that becomes a disease.
Correct.
That needs management. And we encourage the youth to look for other coping mechanisms, talk to a friend, engage in sports. We do understand the very many life stresses that Kenyans are going through, but we would highly advise not to get into substance abuse.
I agree. Mams?
Yeah, I think I'll ask Dr. Okanga. And in light of, all the success that Sweden has had, so knowing the consumer in Kenya and maybe the African region, I would say, what are challenges that, we might face in terms of implementation?
Implementation of?
What challenges will we face as a Kenyan and the consumer to try to be like Sweden? Is it that maybe the consumer will be up in arms and tutaandamana juu tumenyimwa sigara and all these things?
Or maybe they wouldn't be too receptive to this whole, to the alternatives.
To the alternatives, we will not accept them.
I think Kenyans are already receptive. Kenyans are already using these alternative products, despite the fact that there's no regulation.
Okay.
And despite the fact that the Ministry of Health and the Tobacco Control Board have not ratified these products to be used. Kenyans are already this information, no information you cannot hide.
You cannot.
Yeah. And it's science backed.
Yeah.
And people know that these products are not are less harmful than the actual cigarettes. And so eventually it's a matter of giving people choice. Yeah.
Yes,
that makes sense. But I also noticed vapes are mostly consumed within the urban settings, urban areas mostly. What about the rural areas, where of course is the people really consume a lot of cigarettes? Not that much, but a good number of Kenyans.
But it's because it's cheap, 10 bob.
Yeah. So would they actually? How much is a vape, by the way? Like typical. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Well, most of the vapes sold, they range because we have disposable, refillable.
Yeah, the refillable ones are pretty expensive.
Our observations is that they are not within reach of most people.
Okay.
Because they are quite expensive.
I agree.
They are more expensive than cigarettes because there is no regulation. So those who smoke cigarettes will find it cheaper to continue smoking cigarettes.
Correct. Yeah. And so that's a challenge then.
That's a big challenge.
Yeah.
And that's why my colleague says once this bill comes into law, it's the first step as we move towards getting to sensitize people on other modalities of tobacco cessation, because we have other modalities of tobacco cessation.
Right. I was going to ask you, from your perspective, Dr. Kanga, where do you see the future of vaping in Kenya, say, in the next 5 years?
From a medical perspective, I feel that the vapes are an important tool for smokers who want to quit. They have been shown to be 10%. When you look at smokers who want to quit, they are more likely to quit when they're using vapes compared to when they're not using any medication.
Right.
Yeah. But vape as a recreational tool, from a medical perspective, it's not a good idea.
Okay, so not for
because nicotine is highly addictive. Yes.
Dr. Aaron, the same, what would you say?
Absolutely, I agree with my colleague. Nicotine is highly addictive, especially before you get to 25 years of age. It's highly addictive, and quitting might be a very big challenge. And we always advocate, if you don't use these products, please don't start. And from a medical perspective, we are looking at smokers of tobacco and how they can be assisted to quit.
Ma'am?
Okay, so then, gentlemen, as you make all those steps ahead, and I see the progression in this conversation and also for the user in future, but how should legislators balance regulation with access to safer alternatives? I'm curious because at the end of the day, it has to be legal, right? Accessible. Is the question of cost going to come in? So how do you balance that, the regulation with access to safer alternatives?
So I think that is covered by the bill. Once the bill comes into play, the bill intends to regulate importation, manufacture, sale, distribution, and even advertising all these products. So all these aspects are very, very important. It also puts suggestion on taxation, or how these products are going to be taxed. And again, it's suggesting that products that have high nicotine content should be taxed more. But again, when you look from a medical perspective, when you look at these products as a medical agents, then maybe the taxation should not be so high, so that people who actually need them can get the product.
Before we wrap up the conversation, Dr. Ari, you're the right person for this question. As you can see, I'm a Rasta. And so there are many people who always say, Kev, man, you get push this agenda. You get the cannabis has no effects on us, bro. Why would you have cigarettes being legal in this country and then cannabis illegal? You're a doctor. I'm sure you've engaged with this information. It was even very politicized in the previous elections.
It was.
Yeah, I'm curious. What's your thought process?
Yeah, as I started earlier in the show, I did say that one of the products that we advocate for harm reduction is cannabis. We know cannabis is illegal in this country.
It is.
But science has shown that there is a particular type of cannabis that is medicinal.
Right.
That is science. In fact, our brothers across the border in Uganda are already farming it.
Exactly.
They're already farming that cannabis, and they had to change the laws to allow the planting, the manufacture of products that are of medicinal in nature, from that particular type of hemp. And what we are trying to say is that we need to educate Kenyans. And all this is based on science. The cannabis that has been shown to be extremely harmful is that has a very high THC content.
Yes.
Of more than 30%. That is scientific. And the medicinal cannabis has a THC content of less than 0.3%.
Oh,
in fact, the seeds are so special that you can't just get them anywhere. Uganda had to import the seeds from Israel.
Wow.
And they paid a premium price. And that is a conversation that we need to start engaging on and see how best can we approach this medicinal component. Because it's science, I mean. And science is facts.
Correct. All right. So finally, there's this amazing initiative by the United Kingdom where they rolled out a government-led initiative to give 1 million smokers vapes in a bid to getting them to quit smoking. Is this something that our policymakers should also be considering, like what they did with the decision to give out free condoms to prevent, of course, the spread of HIV?
Well, the UK government, as I earlier said, rolled out that campaign. It's called Swap to Stop. And the scientists in the UK did manage to convince the policymakers to set aside funds. The UK has more than 6 million smokers, active smokers, and the burden of disease is tremendous. So the government set aside funds, and through their Stop Smoking Services department in the UK, they targeted 1 million smokers in the first phase, whereby these smokers will walk into these centers and they get a free vape. And then they are followed up in the centers with an end game of quitting. So that based on the amount of cigarettes that you're smoking, how many packets, you're given something equivalent, then it's tapered down, as you approach quitting.
Correct.
And that is a strategy that is based on science. We are all waiting to see the final effect, but it's already working. It's already working in the UK, so that these heavy smokers put down the cigarettes with these safer alternatives. And that is an approach that has also been taken up by New Zealand. And we are seeing more countries like Czech Republic are also taking it up.
Any African countries?
Africa, not yet. Japan, a vape is a prescription drug.
What?
You have to get it through prescription.
Very progressive.
And these are progressive and pragmatic practices that we are all waiting to see. Banning is not a solution.
Correct.
When you ban a product, people will look for it.
Kabisa.
Of course. When you put a human in a corner, he'll be creative.
Yes, they will look for it. I mean, South Africa tried to ban cigarettes during the COVID. Cigarettes were being ferried from Nairobi all the way to South Africa through the black market.
Oh my God, that's interesting.
I mean, cannabis is banned in Kenya, but it's the most abused drug.
You know?
I mean, that's a fact. Virtually every family has been affected by the effects of cannabis.
I can imagine.
Which is a dangerous. So banning is not a solution. We need regulatory approach, better enforcement strategies, so that we educate our public, our Kenyans and the rest on the danger, so that we have an informed society.
I agree. Sasa, thank you so much, Dr. Kariuki Michael. He's the Secretary General, guys, once again, of Harm Reduction Society of Kenya, and also a founder member. Also, we have the one and only Dr. Okanga, Treasurer, the Harm Reduction Society of Kenya. Thank you so much, guys. What's the contact information in case somebody wants to continue with this story, maybe host you on their own platform?
Yes, we have our website, also social media, Harm Reduction Society, Kenya.org.
Nice.
Same with our X platforms. Okay. Our contacts are there. You can reach to us. And last but not least, we are calling upon the Ministry of Health to highly consider starting a stop smoking services department,
right?
Because we have left our tobacco smokers, our cigarette smokers to their own peril. We're just telling them, you go and stop, but we are not aiding them.
I agree.
To stop this. The Ministry of Health collects 2% of gross revenues from tobacco industry to assist in such activities. It's called Solatium, and we are calling the Tobacco Control Board to hit the road running and assist smokers to quit. Even the legalized modalities of quitting smoking, such as nicotine gums, nicotine patches, nicotine lozenges, are beyond the reach of many Kenyans. They cannot afford even some of the therapies such as bupropion, varenicline. They can't afford these quitting modalities that are approved by Pharmacy and Poisons Board, WHO, Ministry of Health. We are calling the government to start those initiatives and recognize smokers as people who need help because they are addicted to nicotine.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kariuki, and of course, Dr. Okanga. You guys are so resourceful to our country, Kenya. You've added so much value. Let's keep it moving, guys. In the next hour, we have a mix by the one and only DJ Stano, but also the conversations are ongoing with myself and Wams. Right now, Break You Off, The Roots featuring music.